Welcome to episode 2 of the D.N.A. Sports Podcast, where we talk about all things sports. I'm your host, Sam. This is Dom, Nate, and Aiden. How are we doing today, fellas?
I'm great, dude. How are you?
I'm great, dude.
I'm feeling fantastic.
Fantastic. Nice rookie bone jersey you got, sir.
Thank you for noticing. I was waiting for somebody to notice, but got a nice Rick Vaughn jersey on. One of my favorite fictional characters.
Took a good hit off him.
Dude, I might get my head taken off first.
Love that. To start us off, we should talk about some hockey stuff. Some big hockey stuff happened, like McDavid and Kucherov. Big assists.
Yeah, they became the fourth and fifth person in NHL history to reach 100 assists in one season.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about two of the premier players in the league. McDavid being one of the best all time, if not the best all time, and Kucherov, being up there as well. And 100 assists isn't very common, but we're talking about two guys that are just, top of the game and best in the world. So not very surprised at all.
Yeah, McDavid did it too after, missing a couple games due to injury. I don't remember how many he had, but, he didn't play a full 82. So he's doing that in less than an 82 game season.
So, moving over to the Sabres, Don Granato was fired. Ralph Kruger's replacement is finally out. And this comes after the Sabres missed their 13th straight playoffs. A little bit surprised here because now when the Sabres do hire a new coach, they'll be paying two coaches. So that was the only reason why I thought maybe this wouldn't happen, because I didn't think Pegula would want to pay two coaches at once, but here we are.
Yeah, well, it wasn't Pegula's decision. I think if it was up to him, Granato probably would still be the coach. But Kevin Adams just said, they something's got to happen. They, big disappointing season, and something had to change. And Don Granato, fantastic human being. He did a lot for the Sabres organization. He played a key role in the development of young players. But now, they're at that level where they got to take that next step, and they got to make the playoffs, and Don Granato is just not the guy to lead them there.
Yeah, Don was the perfect coach for the situation that that he was in. Right, he was a perfect coach for development in young players, and now we're past that stage. If you listen to some of the press conferences over the past couple of days with Darlene and Tage and everybody, a lot of things. One word that kept coming up was accountability, and it doesn't seem like there was a lot of accountability under Don Granato, and that's a big issue when you have a team that's trying to take that next step. We need a coach that's going to be able to hold his players accountable and get on them a little bit and take them to that next level. Another thing is that even Kevin Adams said it in the press conference: youth isn't an excuse anymore. The past couple of years, okay, we were the youngest team in the league, whatever. Now it's not an excuse anymore. Nobody cares that you're the youngest team. Get out there and do something and prove why you should be, on paper, one of the top teams in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, they still are very young, but they're also young, but they've also had, most of these guys have got 3, 4, 5 NHL seasons under their belt. So young is not an excuse anymore. So, like you did say, they gotta take that next step. And, with that next step, who do you got on the radar for next head coach?
I personally would love to see Lindy Ruff come back.
Yeah, so, I mean, my number one guy is Lindy Ruff. I would also, be a huge fan of bringing in Michael Pecker, Jim Key. I feel like that'd be great as well. But, I mean, anybody with decent NHL experience that's capable of bringing some structure to the team would be good for me overall. But I would really prefer Lindy.
Well, they just need someone to, like you said, hold somebody accountable. And, Don Granato he wasn't the guy to hold somebody accountable. And, a quote came in from Rasmus Dahlin that said, there was just way too many times during the season that the team got too comfortable.
We need a coach that's going to come in the locker room at the end of the second period when you're down 1, and it's going to yell and it's going to kick a trash can or something and get the team fired up. And Don Granato was just not that type of guy. All right, so we got the NFL draft coming up next week. Everything's pretty much up in the air right now. A lot of people have Caleb Williams going number 1. Number 2 is a big question. So who do you guys see going number 2?
Yeah, no, I probably got Jaden Daniels going number 2. It sounds like the rumors out of Washington are leaning towards Jaden Daniels. But I mean, at this time of year, it really could be anything. Today could be Jaden Daniels. Tomorrow could be Drake May, and then by Saturday they could have JJ McCarthy go number 2. It really just depends on the day and what happens on draft day. Right now, I have Jaden Daniels going number 2, with New England taking Drake May, and then really after that, Arizona's at 4 is going to be the question mark on whether they trade that pick for a team that wants to get up, like the Giants or like Minnesota or Denver that's looking for a quarterback, or do they sit there, take Marvin Harrison or one of those receivers, and then let the draft fall where it does after that? But the big question is going to be what happens at number 4.
Well, I saw a couple things on Robert Kraft at New England picking at number 3 that they're not really opposed to dropping down either and letting someone move up. So now if that's the case, I wonder if more teams are going to try to move up to 4 if someone goes 3 because potentially if someone goes 3, they're going to look for a quarterback. So then more quarterbacks that teams are going to want are going to get taken off the board. So I wonder if that drives a little bit for teams to go up to number 4.
Yeah, no, it can, just because, especially with New England, if they don't take a quarterback at 3 and they do trade out of that spot, they got a lot of holes in that team too that they got to fill before they can even think about starting to build a quarterback too. So, they, not saying that Mac Jones is going to be amazing, but they ruined Mac Jones, and look where he is right now. So they don't obviously want to do that again with a number 3 overall pick, but at the same time, you have a chance to draft your franchise quarterback for the next 15 to 20 years, and if you trade out of that pick and you miss on it, it's gonna haunt you if you don't build it right and you miss on whatever guy you take.
So now, who do we think is the first non-quarterback off the board, and what pick?
I think it's got to be Marvin Harrison, and I feel like the first 4 spots have to be quarterbacks. I feel like those teams, like maybe if the Cardinals trade, I mean, like...
Now, are we 100% sure that Kyler Murray's job is safe?
I would say so.
I mean, you're paying him $40+ million a year guaranteed. It would be quite the move to make a move on him, but it is a new regime there, so anything can happen there. But
I guess it depends on who's available, maybe too.
Yeah, no, I think Marvin Harrison will definitely be the first off the board. It just depends if it's 4 or 6.
100%.
If it's Arizona at 4, most likely it's going to be Harrison. If they trade out of number 4, whoever goes into that 6th spot will probably take Marvin Harrison if the Giants decide to move up, which will most likely be the team that moves up in Arizona's spot. So
yeah, I mean, and the Chargers got a lot of holes too on offense. So you're looking at Marvin Harrison Jr., who could go number 5 of the Chargers too. I mean, they got rid of Mike Williams, they traded Keenan Allen. Their offensive line really isn't that great too. So you're looking at a guy like either Joe Alt from Notre Dame or Marvin Harrison Jr. there. So if someone does trade into that 4 spot, number 5, 100% is going to be the first non-quarterback, assuming the Chargers don't trade. And I don't think they trade that pick because they have so many holes to fill, and you could get a very solid offensive lineman in Joe Alt or, almost probably generational talent wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about a hometown team, Buffalo Bills, what are our thoughts on them? Because we know they just made a trade to take Stephon Diggs out. And they're in need of a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I mean, they got, obviously all of Buffalo wants that receiver. They have a couple other holes you got to fill, but that one big hole has to be a receiver, and filling in, getting a real number 1 in for Josh. So whatever they do, they gotta try and make a move for a receiver. Whether if they don't do it day 1, it's got to be day 2, and it's a must at day 2 if you don't do it day 1. So what's everyone's opinion on if they're going to be, staying put, trading up, trading down? Brandon Beane's a big proponent of moving. He almost never stays put. Every single draft that he's, drafted for us, minus, I believe it was the year we drafted Ed Oliver, he's moved up or down. So in the first round. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But has anyone got any opinions on what we think is going to be happening?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's clearly not afraid to go up and get who he wants. He locks in on a guy if he's available 5 or 6 picks ahead. I would not be surprised if he jumps up and get him. Personally, there's no chance that the Bills take him. But my favorite in this draft has got to be Brock Bowers. That guy is unreal. He's going to be a premier tight end in the league for a very long time. I just think he is so talented, but I do think the Bills go receiver round 1 unless they can work out a maybe even a draft day trade for a number 1 somewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. They, so there was a story that came out today actually with when Josh in the media. He said that the day of draft day last year, he texted Brandon Beane. He just said all he said was Dalton Kincaid. So
it's Dalton Kincaid no matter what.
Yeah,
kind of like draft day.
Like draft day. Yeah. So you got to think that they got to be taken into account whatever Josh says, especially after that. He's your franchise guy, so. He's got to be. He might be in their ear talking receiver. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I really, if you can't get up to get a guy like Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, which that's going to take a haul, and I don't think that's something Brandon Beane's going to want to do. I really like a guy like Brian Thomas, and you should be able to climb up a couple spots for him. He's right now at Mox having like the mid to late teens. So you're trading up 10 picks, and that you're not giving up. You're not giving up a haul to go up that spot. So I really like Brian Thomas. He's he can do it all. He's like 6'2", 6'3", runs a 4.3, and
it's a little bit like DK Metcalf.
Yeah. He's physical, tall, fast. He can do a little bit of everything, and I think that's a guy that a lot of people are sleeping on in the draft because they're all talking about the big 3 receivers. And if this wasn't the year where all 3 receivers are in there, Brian Thomas is a top 10 pick. And
So
there's no doubt about it.
Brandon Beane also loves his draft picks, and I wouldn't be surprised if he moved down and out of the first round, early second round, because I feel like this draft is very wide receiver heavy. That once you get out of those top 3 receivers, picking at 28, you're going to take a risk on the guy anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Beane decided to move, top second round and just waited an extra couple picks and took a risk on someone, especially if he thinks they might fall.
Well, right, but you already have like 10 picks this year anyway. So why are you going to trade back for an additional 3? I mean, realistically, probably half these guys are making the roster, maybe a little bit more than that. So I'm not saying it's not a bad move because obviously it's good to have options, but if you're for sure on a guy and you need to move up, 10 spots to get him, why not go get him rather than sit there, have him get taken from you, and then you're taking a guy that you really don't like, but he's there because you missed out on
I think no matter what, though, with the amount of star power that the Bills lost this offseason, this draft is a must-hit. If they want to be able to compete this year in the playoffs, this draft needs to be an A+.
We don't even have to get the must-hits in the draft. We could trade that pick for a guy like Brandon Ayuk. So, what is your opinion on the Bills if they were potentially trade for Brandon Ayuk, and what do you think it would take?
Yeah, so I mean, with a guy like Ayuk, you got to pay him. So he's due for a contract. I don't really know exactly what it will take. If I had to take a guess, you're probably going to have to offer your first round, I would think, because even though you have to pay him, he's still one of the best receivers in the league. The way that he played last year and stepped in when Deebo Samuel was hurt, and he was a second team All Pro last year. So, he's getting better every year by year, and he's instantly your number 1, and he could be a top 10 receiver playing with Josh. So it's probably going to be a first round pick, and you're paying him, around a Diggs salary. But at the same time, I don't know if Brandon Beane wants to do that right at this moment. You just got rid of that contract in Diggs, and look at the way that turned out. So. If you don't have to do that and you can land a guy that you're for sure on that you think that fits your offense perfectly, go get him. Whether again, if that is Brandon Ayuk and they make that trade, of course I'm going to be happy for it. It's an instant number 1 receiver and he's a top 10 receiver in the league if he plays with Josh.
Do you think T. Higgins would be any cheaper?
I don't know. I mean, the recent things out of that's been out of there the last couple of days is that T. Higgins expects to be back in Cincinnati, and it sounds like he's willing to play under the franchise tag at this moment. So I don't know. I think it might be around the same. Maybe you don't get a first round. You might be able to get a second round out of Cincinnati if he actually holds out. But you're still looking at a premier pick in a first round or second round to get that guy, and then you got to pay him on top of it. And I just don't think that's something that Brandon Beane wants to do right now. Is hand out another large contract to a receiver that that he did once and it worked, but he ended up having to trade him, and now you got a bunch of dead cap.
I think it is a must that the Bills just draft a number 1 receiver because Josh Allen he's still young, but he's already 27.
Yeah, we don't want to waste
Right.
his prime.
Well,
And
no,
if
that's
you give him a wide receiver 1 on a rookie contract for the next 5 years, especially with the amount of cap they just cleared up going into after this season, going into the next season, they have a chance to potentially this year compete, but then next year really build for that championship team.
Well, that comes to what you were saying too. I mean, this is one of the last drafts that you're going to get with Josh at peak Josh, because by the time this 4 or 5 years is up, he's gonna be 32. So this is your last chance, maybe next year too, to really hit on some guys that can be big staples to help Josh, get this Bills team to where they need to go.
Now we've talked a lot about offensive draft picks. Is there a certain maybe Iowa D-back that we like?
So what's funny? I know that's the only one that you want.
Yeah,
if it's not receiver, it's Cooper DeJean for you.
Because that would be legendary. It would be legendary.
You big Led McConkey guy too?
I don't know who that is.
No, you have no idea who that is.
No.
Oh yeah, okay. But yeah, no. Cooper DeJean, yeah, he's a very lanky, athletic corner, and he would be an instant number 1 on this team as long as he fits that system. And that's corner's another need. It's a big need for this team going off losing Trey White, and a secondary is probably going to struggle because you're missing a safety too. So there's holes on the defense too. I know we spent a lot of time on offense, but you're going to need another edge guy at some point. In this draft, you don't need to spend a second round pick on him or anything like that, but you need you're going to need to draft another edge at this point. Von Miller's not getting any younger, and you got some guys coming up on contracts like Greg Rousseau. So, the Cooper DeJean would be, I wouldn't be mad at that because he is falling on the draft boards. So we'll see what happens on draft night.
That guy's a monster.
Yeah, no, like I said, he instantly comes into your defense as a number one corner, and there's no doubt about it, and you don't really have to blink about it.
I think if he falls the second round, you got to go up and get him.
I don't think that there's no way he falls in the second round just the way he's tested.
Did anybody think that AJ Epinesa was going to fall the second round?
A lot of teams did, actually.
He was projected. he was projected like a top 10 pick at one point.
Yeah, he was, but then he tested really poorly, and that's why he fell off. And Cooper DeJean didn't.
Big football guy. So if you had to pick somebody at 28 right now for the Bills, I know there's a special receiver from your
he's fallen,
college football team that I think is overrated and personally sucks. But
so he's fallen to the second round. I don't think he gets picked in the first. Nate's talking about Troy Franklin. He's got length, he's got speed. He doesn't really have a lot of power to him, and he was in an offense that he was really kind of able to do whatever he wanted. So, he has that route tree. It's just a matter of he's really not that physical. And, the Bills need a little bit of everything. They need a physical receiver that can do a little bit of everything. As much as I'd want him to be on the Bills, I just, if he's going to fall into the second round, if you take him in the second round, if he falls that far, great. But, if you're drafting a receiver first round, you're not taking Troy Franklin in the second. And like I said, I don't really think he'd be a scheme fit here.
Could I ask you something?
Sure.
Why? What possessed you to become an Oregon Duck fan?
So I was like 10 years old, and I thought LaMichael James was an absolute monster.
Do you think Bo Nix is going first round?
I don't know. See, depends on how quick those quarterbacks come off the board. If the board falls where all 4 quarterbacks are off within the first 10 picks, Bo Nix is probably getting taken in the mid-teens by a desperate team.
He's the type of guy where I wouldn't be surprised if nobody went to his birthday party. They put $100 in the last page of the playbook, and then he never found it. Yeah,
is that just because his name resembles the same name as the guy from draft day?
It's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't like Oregon, either or.
Yeah, that too.
Well, another top receiver right behind Marvin Harrison in the draft is Neighbors. And I've been looking at a lot of mock drafts, and almost all of them have Neighbors going to the Giants. Do you think if he gets drafted by the Giants, he'll just waste away his whole career on the Giants?
Well, so the thing with the Giants though is that the rumors have been calling in that they've been calling in on quarterback a lot too.
You got to remember they were a playoff team last year, weren't they?
No,
yeah, 2 years ago. 2 years ago,
but
Daniel
not
Jones
like this
tore
past
his
season, but the season before.
I don't think
Daniel Jones tore his ACL, and he tore his ACL. He didn't really play that great to begin with either. last year, and after they gave him that huge contract. So they've been calling in on quarterbacks, and if you think of it from this standpoint too, if you sit with Daniel Jones and he's as mediocre as he's been, when you're Brian Dable, you're not going to have a job much more often. You were the guy, you were the coach, and Joe Shane, the GM, who decided to pay that guy. So you got to make a move, and if you sit with Daniel Jones, you either got to provide him with as many weapons as possible, or you got to move on from him and draft a guy here if you like a guy enough.
I mean, that contract is just absurd. I mean, I don't know if they were trying to just justify the pick that they took him with or what they were trying to do, but he didn't earn that contract, and I don't know why anybody would give him that amount of money.
Yeah, no, I mean, he won a playoff game, but it really wasn't solely based off him. They had an outstanding defense, and they had Saquon Barkley that was, putting up 120 yards a game and a touchdown. When you got a guy like that, it's going to be easy to sit in the pocket and throw 10-yard slants, like what he does.
He's more playoff wins than Dak Prescott.
I think they're tied. I think Dak's got one.
Do we think Tommy DeVito is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones?
No.
I would love to see Tommy DeVito. I would love to see him win that starting job.
Yeah, no, I mean it would be cool. But
Why? Because his agent will kill someone?
Jesus. All right. Anyway, yeah, but no. If you're the Giants, if you either got to surround Daniel Jones with as many weapons as possible, or you're going to have to, make a move and really think about who you're going to be building this franchise around. Because if you're Brian Dable and Joe Shane, this is probably your last chance with how depressing of a season you had last year. You got to make some sort of move. So it's either surround Daniel Jones or grab somebody else and maybe buy yourself another year or two.
Yeah, I think. Dude, can you stop showing? We're trying to do a podcast here. You're over here showing me pictures. You got your dog scratching at the door, annoying the hell out of me. Dude, I don't even remember what we're talking about now.
That was a goal.
We're talking about the draft.
Okay, draft. Back on the Bills draft. Losing a bunch of star power, like we said. Going into this draft is going to be a big hit or miss draft. You gotta ace it to be competitive this year. If for some reason the Bills do not ace this draft, and they have a disappointing season, are we seeing Sean McDermott go?
Well, I think if they don't end up hitting this year, they're going to potentially be big spenders in free agency next year.
Well, yeah, you have a lot of cap room coming up in this following off season because you have Diggs off the books finally. That'll free up a lot of space, and obviously Josh's contract, they always restructure his deal, and they always somehow make $15-20 million off that too. So there is going to be a lot of room to hit on free agency next off season, but let's not talk about that yet until we get there. It's still a long way away.
So what are our thoughts on McDermott, though? Because, over this past couple of years, going back to 2020, we had the team, we had the talent, and McDermott just couldn't take us to beyond the playoffs to the Super Bowl.
You could put any coach in there that you want. I don't know if many coaches, I don't know if it matters. You're not getting past Pat Mahomes, I don't think.
No, I think Mahomes and Reed come together.
And Kelsey. I mean, a lot of people.
The huge thing behind Andy Reid for years up until he had Patrick Mahomes was that he was never able to win the big one. He's been a coach for 15 years, and then he finally was able to do it with Mahomes, and he's done it 3 times.
He never really had a quarterback. Maybe did he have McNabb for a couple of years?
He had McNabb for a couple of years.
But we're talking about comparing McNabb and Mahomes.
Well,
that's not really.
He had McNabb for a couple of years. He had Mike Vick post issues, and then
what was his issues?
And then he had Alex Smith as well. So I mean, Mahomes is definitely the best quarterback he's had by far. But like I said, it's all about the pairing and just surrounding yourself with the right people. And Andy Reid, an offensive genius, has the best quarterback in the game and one of the best to do it at this point. So
I mean, I love the Bills. I'm a diehard Bills fan, but I'm a realistic Bills fan. I don't think as long as Kelsey and Mahomes are on the same team, I don't think the Bills win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's gonna take a lot to get over that, and we've seen that surrounding Josh with the amount of weapons that we had at one point. it still didn't do it. So you're gonna need to you're gonna need to add so many other pieces to be able to do it. I know all it takes is one time, but it's gonna take a lot.
I get, understandably, Travis Kelce is debatably the best tight end in NFL history.
Correct.
But he has come out and said that, it's taken a toll on his body. The amount of surgeries he's had from his college days all the way up until,
the guy's
last
not 22
year.
anymore.
Exactly, which is what which is why, next year, at any point starting from now to the end of his career, one last blow, and
Yeah,
he's talked about wanting to hang him up.
I like the guy. There's no bad blood there.
Well, you saw it last year with Travis Kelce. He was hurt a couple times last year, and he missed a couple games last year too. And some of those hits where he was getting up before, are starting to hurt him now, and that's just kind of what happens. So, as much as Kelce doesn't have a lot of time left in his playing career, it doesn't really matter. You got Patrick Mahomes, and as long as you're surrounded with guys that are able to get open and catch the ball, he's going to fit the ball wherever he needs to.
They also lost Rashee Rice, though, who was a major part.
Well, the thing is, they had Tyreek Hill. They lose Tyreek Hill, everyone's like, oh, they're not going to make it back. They go and win 2 Super Bowls after that.
Insert Rashee Rice, insert now Hollywood Brown, and then
they always find somebody because Mahomes makes the receiver. They could be a good receiver, but when you have Patrick Mahomes throwing you the ball, it makes you a great receiver.
I think the scary thing last year.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like they can put anyone in there as long as the guy is able to get open. Mahomes is going to find him.
The scary thing last year, though, that they maybe lacked the other Super Bowls was the fact that you have an offense with Mahomes and Kelce. And they had a defense that was stellar.
They had, and that's another thing too. They hit on draft picks when they needed to. They have, they had L'Jarius Sneed. I know they don't have him anymore, but they hit on L'Jarius Sneed in the draft. They hit on Karlaftis in the draft, and then they hit on McDuffie in the draft. And those are
Bolton.
Nick Bolton. And then
Seems like they hit every year.
Very, very good linebacker. Dude, you got to do something about your dog. That thing's annoying me.
Yeah, no, we just mentioned 5 guys there that are key parts to their offense and are multiple-time Pro Bowlers, and I believe all of them have probably been an All-Pro at one point. Maybe not Karlaftis, but they're all very, very solid players, and they're people that they've hit on in the draft.
They've always had a real solid line, too.
Yeah.
Their offensive line, a couple of years ago, they spent big money on their line.
Well, after they lost Mitch Morse, they spent a lot of money getting Joe Tooney. They brought in Orlando Brown for a little bit.
Traded Eric Fisher.
Yeah.
Do we consider him a bust? Is that a bust?
No, I think
I don't know.
I mean, good for
that draft as a whole really wasn't too special, but
that was one of the worst drafts in the past probably 15 years.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's hard to judge an offensive lineman because you drafted an offensive lineman first overall and you want him to be Joe Thomas, and that's just not going to happen probably 99 times out of 100. So I wouldn't call him a bust because he was a very consistent player, but he just never lived up to the number 1 overall hype.
I guess in that draft it's not a bust, but any other draft he most likely doesn't go first overall.
No, he probably doesn't even go top 10.
Yeah.
He's probably a mid first rounder at best.
You do?
Yeah, I know. You enjoyed the conversation, bud?
I actually am. Conversation is flowing, so I decided to take a back seat. I didn't really have much input, but sorry, I just got a text message. Made me smile a little.
Yeah, we going back to when he was playing chess, and you just
playing chess.
Just distracting us from playing chess. Now you're distracting us for funny text messages.
I've gotten a lot better at chess. Sammy taught me during our class.
Yeah. I don't know crap about chess.
It's pretty fun.
I love chess.
Yeah, you have to teach me how to play.
I will. You'll probably beat Nate.
I like playing on my phone because when you click the piece, it only gives you options where you can move it, and it tells you where you can go. Because otherwise, I'd have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big chess podcast here.
I love it. I could talk about chess all day.
Let's transition to baseball real quick. I know Nate wanted to talk about the debut of Jackson Holliday. So
yeah, it's Jackson Holliday, number 1 prospect in MLB for the Baltimore Orioles. He got called up last week, being He's starting off his career 1 for 25, and baseball's a sport where, development's key. You look at all these other sports, football, basketball, even hockey. These young players can step in and make an impact in the league right away. Baseball, you get drafted at 18, 19 years old. It takes years and years for you to develop, and Jackson Holiday's stepping in right at the age of 20 and just not performing like they thought he would be.
I mean, the guy skyrocketed through the minors, every level, just unbelievably quick. And he came to the MLB and had a little bit of trouble, but it just shows you the difference in skill between AAA and the pros. I mean, it's just the pitching's just that much better, and it's going to take him a little bit of time to catch up to it. Obviously, the guys, not everybody can be a Bryce Harper and play at like 19 years old and step in and hit 2 doubles his first game. I mean, it's just not realistic. So this guy he's very talented. He's going to be very talented one day, even though he looks like he's about 15 years old. But he's going to be very good for the Orioles, and the Orioles are going to be stacked for years to come.
Yeah, no, it takes a certain type of generational talent to, just step in and take the league by storm. Like you mentioned, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout did the same thing. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna take some time. He's only 20. We'll see how the rest of his development goes throughout the year, but it just takes a lot of things take time.
The question is, in the Baltimore organization, is do you send him back down? Because what else does he really have to prove in the AAA? He was doing outstanding.
Go to the minors and do exactly what he was doing before. I mean,
but it's just maybe a reset might help him a little bit.
I mean, he's only been up a week. You got to remember that too.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, but at what point, baseball's a very mental sport, and you go down, 1 for 15 to start your career. You're not feeling too good about yourself, and that kind of stuff. Even in the major leagues, that kind of stuff can get to your head.
Well, that's what separates the good and the greats.
But you also don't give it a week and just say, oh, well, crap, I'm 1 for 25 to start my career. I'm not good enough. I got to go back down. That's not how those guys.
If you
think.
but they don't. A week, that might hurt his confidence more than just letting them.
That might not also. They don't think about the fact that this is my first week. I'm 1 for 25. They go up there at bat thinking, I'm 1 for 25. I need to hit this at bat. They get out. I'm 1 for 26. I need to hit this at bat.
Yeah, but is he really going to get better if they send him back down? Like he was already.
It just might be something they have to do for a little reset.
Yeah,
maybe eventually. Not anytime soon.
I would say I wouldn't say
anytime
a week.
soon.
I wouldn't say a week.
I'm personally just said how he started his career. I don't think I ever said they needed to send him down right away, but
yeah, I mean it's just not anywhere close to send him down yet.
I was just asking a question.
We should do an immaculate grid sometime for the podcast. That'd be cool.
Wait, change subject.
Just popping my head.
Yeah, the Orioles are good. I mean, even though he's not playing good, the team's playing good. So I would just give him time. He has to get used to the pitching. Has to get used to the big leagues.
What about Aaron Judge? What the hell's happening with that guy?
Yeah, I mean, he had a clutch hit yesterday, but other than that, he's been struggling a lot. I don't know. It just seems it seems like to start right now, a lot of teams are pitching to Soto and not really pitching to Judge, and Judge is not really seeing the ball well right now. But again, this is another one where baseball's a game of hot and cold. So I guess it's just a matter of time before he starts to break out. Hopefully that last at bat in Toronto last night, that big 2 RBI hit that he had in the 9th inning, hopefully that helps him break through.
I think that early in the season, though, this is something that's got to get rolling because they've already played so many divisional games that are huge within the AL East, and they went out and got someone like Soto who gets on base so much, just constantly getting on base, and you got someone like Judge who's performed in the past that's hitting right after him, but just not performing right now, and first 71 at bats only has 3 home runs, and it's just not something that Judge is used to. You see him sending the long ball out a lot more than he is, and if you get someone like Juan Soto who constantly gets on base right now, who's batting somewhere in the mid 300s, on base percentage is a lot higher than that too. This is the time that Judge needs to start hitting before Soto could possibly go cold at some point, and now Judge heats up, but at that point, no one's going to be on for him.
If the Yankees are going to make a push for the World Series, Aaron Judge has got to get going. I know it's still early in the year, but I mean, if this guy plays even decent throughout the year, they're not going to make a World Series.
Yeah, no. So I mean, Judge has notoriously been a guy that just he mashes at Yankee Stadium. They really haven't had many games at Yankee Stadium yet, so maybe that's what it takes. Just a couple games at Yankee Stadium to kind of get reset. But yeah, no, it's still a long season. You got 100+ games left, so we'll kind of see what happens. But yeah, no, I agree though. If the only way that the Yankees are gonna have a shot at making a World Series or be competitive in a playoff is if you get guys like Judge rolling and pair him along with Soto at the same time. Those two guys back to back when they're hot is going to be a nightmare in October.
I mean, you look at their lineup. Their team is stacked. There is no way that they should not have a World Series.
Volpe came out of nowhere. He's looking awesome right now.
Yeah, Volpe, but you're looking at Anthony Rizzo. I guess he's a little bit older now, but we're talking about a guy a couple years back was one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
Well, I still think he could be. He has the opportunity to be one of the best in the league. Last year,
hitting at Yankee Stadium, and you're not hitting. How many home runs did he have
last year? He not tremendous amount, but that's only because he was hurt. Last year he started off the season extremely hot, but then obviously he got hit in the knee in the head by Tatis and ended up playing with concussion and then going on the long-term IL, which took him out for the season. But yeah, he started the season out on pace for a career year.
You have 2016 Rizzo and 2016 Stanton. They win the World Series.
Oh, dude.
Well,
yeah, and if any team had Trout, Betts, Ohtani, they'd also win the World Series.
Well, Betts and Ohtani are on the same team, so...
Yeah. And I bet you the Dodgers are extremely good. They're scary. They might have the best 1 through 3 in the lineup in MLB history.
Well,
they have
the potential to have it too.
They have a 1 through 3 that last year 2 people batted above 330 and one of them batted a 303. That's disgusting. That's absolutely filthy when you have 3 people that hit that well back to back to back.
This Yankees batting order that they have right now, in 20 years we should be able to look back on it and say wow, that was a legendary team. I mean, that's the type of players that they have in this lineup. But unfortunately, they're just not, I mean, they have potential to be one of the best home run hitting teams of all time.
Favorite Dodger all time? Let's hear it.
You guys aren't ready for it. My boy Puig. Puig may have been the greatest outfielder to ever touch a baseball diamond.
Didn't he get arrested?
No. Hey, man. He is... I don't know. He really was just... He was good for 1 year.
There was a huge hype train around him.
that year holds a special place.
Well, because they're in Mexico or whatever.
There was one play. Dude, there was one play where he was at Dodger Stadium and he threw a guy out at third base from the right field fence.
Yeah, I do remember.
I don't know. That guy just him and Kershaw hold a special place in my heart. Always a secondary Dodgers fan over here. Obviously, Yankees are number 1, but I just love watching the Dodgers as a kid.
Sam, tell me a little bit about that NBA player that got the indefinite ban.
Oh, my boy. Good old Michael Porter, Never Swing the Rock Jr.'s brother, Jonte Porter.
Oh, I had no idea that they were even related.
Yeah.
Never heard of the guy.
Yeah.
That was a nice nickname.
He's his brother. Yeah, the Raptors forward, Jonte Porter, got caught betting on himself, and now he has a lifetime ban from the NBA.
He was betting on the Raptors to lose, didn't he?
He was betting on...
He was betting on his unders, too.
Yeah, he was betting on his unders.
Yeah, but he took the Raptors to lose in one of them,
I would bet on that, too. Have you seen the Raptors lineup?
Did he, fake an injury or something?
Yeah, so he didn't want to get caught just, not playing good, so he faked an injury to get himself out of the game so his under would hit. He had alias accounts betting on his under, but it was really just him. And he wasn't even making that much. He was making close to $1 million, which compared to other guys, the big guys, that's nothing. But you are still an NBA player. Next year he would have been making multiple millions of dollars. There's just no point to even gamble at this point.
Well, that takes us back to the Ohtani situation. I just feel like these guys get bored. I feel like
making the joke again.
Yeah,
what was the joke?
Does he got an interpreter?
Yeah, no, he's just one of us. But
No, I just feel like these guys get bored, and they're human too, like us, like you said, and
Get bored, dude. You're a professional athlete.
Yeah, but you gotta think about it. Look at all these athletes.
If you're bored, go on a all-inclusive vacation.
They don't.
Or bet on anything other than yourself.
Yeah, so
I don't think technically, I don't think you're allowed to bet on any sports whatsoever.
I think
they still can.
I think in the NBA, I don't know if it's like this for other sports, but they're allowed to bet on other sports. They're just not allowed to bet on
They can also
the NBA.
smoke weed in the NBA.
Yeah.
Why not?
I didn't say it was good or bad.
He was just bored, so he smoked some weed, bet on himself, and got caught.
But that just makes you think, how many of these people are actually like betting on themselves or betting on their teams or other teams within their sport, and they're just not getting caught.
Yeah, why did that guy have an interpreter?
Exactly. Like you just saw what happened. You just obviously just saw what happened with Otani. Like, go hire somebody to be like, start speaking Spanish and like need someone to speak English for you.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just not smart for that. I think if you're a professional athlete, you just shouldn't even be betting in general. Like, you're making generational wealth. And you're just throwing it your whole career away. Like, he was not he's a young man, and he just is now banned from the NBA for his entire life.
Well, also not only that, like you got to think he was definitely sponsored by someone, so all of his endorsements are also gone. This guy's literally
that guy could not have been making that much money from endorsements.
Yeah, but he's going to be making enough where like to any one of us and our parents would probably be good money.
Well, none of us are professional athletes. But
a lot of people are professional athletes around the world.
Wait, but what brand could have? He's not Otani making $56 million.
Dude, Otani is like a once in a lifetime.
Bryce Harper
athlete.
makes like $8 million from Under Armour. This guy couldn't have been making more than $1 million.
Dude, that's still good money.
He's still like a Raptors. Oh, how do I even put it? I don't know. Like a
role player.
Is that saying anything that he's a role player for the Raptors?
No, it's just like you're representing the Raptors brand, kind of. Like, I know he's getting paid his salary, but
what's it?
It's all of Canada in the NBA.
Yeah. It is.
Well, my point is though is that
what's the Superfan's name?
I have no idea, dude.
But he's awesome.
That guy's a beast.
He sets courtside every single game. All 82.
41.
41.
He got you there.
He did get me back. Nate, were you saying something?
I don't even know if you can come back from that one.
I got nothing to say.
Sorry.
But
Cooper Jean.
In the NBA right now, the play-ins are going on. There were some good games yesterday, especially the Heat and Sixers game. I don't know if you guys saw it, but going in.
I did. Jimmy Butler got hurt.
I know.
Doesn't sound like he's going to be ready.
Nope, he's out for weeks.
Yep.
And now they're facing Nate's team, the Bulls.
And I predicted that the Bulls are going to beat them, and obviously now Jimmy Butler's hurt.
Didn't predict that, though.
I predicted they'd win, though, and I think they have a very good shot.
Their odds definitely improved.
Well, their odds are also very high to begin with, so now.
But
you taking them?
The Heat and Sixers
100% I take them, dude. My next entire paycheck.
They still have a 50% chance of losing. If Kobe White could do what he did yesterday, though, man, he dropped his career high 40 points or 42 points. And Nate and I have been Kobe White fans since he was in college. We gotta love Kobe White. But yeah, 42 points. He played 43 minutes. He almost had a double-double with 9 rebounds. But we love watching Kobe White do his thing, especially taking a step up when you have DeMar DeRozan on your team, and you just really take the spotlight in this playing game. Unfortunately this goes for the whole NBA, but especially Kobe White, playing games don't officially count towards your stats. So that did not actually count as Kobe White's career high, but it still is career high in our hearts.
Now that just makes you think, imagine if they still had Lonzo.
Kobe White would put Lonzo in the dirt. I'm just kidding, but back to the Heat and Sixers game. The Heat were up by, I think, as much as 14 or 15 at one point in that game, and it looked like they were just sealing it away. And then, in classic Heat fashion, they could never get the job done. So, Sixers came back, won by 1 point. It was a great game. Who would have thought? Nicholas Batum.
Batum goes to dynamite.
I hate you.
That's their nickname, man. That's what they call him.
He popped off. Unexpected. Well, very unexpected. But I personally, I was clearly unfamiliar with his game. I thought he was washed due to last year, but he pulled out some big threes, came back, and got the win out for them. So now, Nate, what do you think about the Hawks? What do you think is in it for their future?
I don't see them competing for an NBA title for a little bit.
I don't know. I feel like they got to make some moves.
I think Trae Young might be one of the most overrated point guards in the league. I think his shooting is definitely overrated. Don't get me wrong, he can hit long distance shots, but he's not consistent at all. He's not consistent enough to lead the team to an NBA championship.
Yeah. I really thought once they acquired Javante Murray that would really be the thing to put them over the 500 mark, because they're just always been 500. But they're not even 500 this year. I really don't know what changes the Hawks have to make to make them a solid playoff team, because even in the play-in, like, I know the 10 and 9 seed and even sometimes the 8 seed aren't supposed to be like true playoff teams, but the Hawks were definitely not a playoff team. Every single team that was even in the play-in and in the actual playoffs are a 10 times better seed than them.
Now, another team that lost in a play-in as a 10 seed, Golden State Warriors, and now you have somebody on their team, Chris Paul, who just snapped a 14-year playoff streak, which is, it's upsetting. I personally like Chris Paul as a basketball player. I think he deserves to win a title, and time's running out for him. He's getting way up there in age, and
100%. Yeah, I mean, like,
he tried to join the Warriors, and he's not even a starter for the Warriors either. So it just kind of shows that he was truly trying to ring chase, and
can you blame him?
I don't blame him, but he joined. He just joined the wrong team, unfortunately.
I think
the Warriors dynasty is probably over.
Does Clay go back there?
No, I think Clay is done. So. Did you see what he did after the game? He took an extra long time on the court just to soak it all in.
It was actually really sad. I saw an interview of him after the game. An interviewer asked him, like, Clay, I saw you took an extra long time on the court. Like, what was going through your mind? And he was like, man, like, I was just looking up at the nosebleeds, and I saw this one Warriors fan sitting alone with the number 11 jersey on, and I just never felt more bad in my life. And that was actually kind of sad. But I do think the Warriors' big three there, Draymond, Clay, and stuff, they might have to split up. I mean, Clay is a shooter, and shooters shoot, but shooters don't shoot overtime. So
I think that Clay's gone, Draymond's gone. I think Steph will always be a Warrior. He will 100% finish off his career as a Warrior. But
you guys getting a statue.
I think Clay and Draymond's numbers in Golden State.
I don't know if they'll get rid of Draymond. I don't know if they'll just keep on.
The only reason that it's been a couple years now where it's swung around the idea of him moving on, and I think he's a menace.
Yeah, his antics kind of get a little old. I mean, he's been doing that. He's been doing that for years, and normally they got around it because they won, but they're really not doing a ton of winning right now. So it's almost kind of old and annoying at this point.
And I think if you start moving like some of your big pieces from what your dynasty was, the rebuild starts, and you're not going to start a rebuild with these young people when you have Draymond Green, throwing punches every other game.
Right. I mean, you really can't with Steph either. I mean, obviously Steph is Steph, but if you're going to do any sort of rebuild, Steph's really not. Probably not going to try and stick around for that. He's going to try and win at least one or two more, and you got to rebuild once, and you got to hit it. You got to hit on it, or otherwise, Steph really might not want to be there because he wants to win.
I think Golden State's going to want him to stay just because of the fact that he's the best shooter of all time. He's going to mentor these young people, but I just don't see Curry saying, "Hey, like I want to go." Like he already accomplished everything he needed to. I don't see him saying, "I want to go chase a ring." Like I
don't think he's going to be like Durant.
Yeah, I would say you don't think he's going to make all that money and then.
Except Durant went to go chase a ring after he didn't accomplish what he wanted to. Curry has
a ring on like 6 teams.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that he went to Golden State after he'd done the disappointing team with the Thunder. He left Golden State to go to the Nets, which
that's a ring chase.
at the time it was can KD win without a super team? But unfortunately, that's turned into a super team. But I just don't see Curry saying I want to go somewhere else. I just think he's accomplished so much. He's done so much for Golden State that he's just going to stay there.
Not saying he does. It's just the fact that if he goes through this rebuild and they're just the definition of average. After a year or two, he's going to get old. He's going to want to go out on top. He's not going to want to, he's going to want to go out being competitive, not go out knowing that his team's going 500 and they're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, and the thing about. I'm sorry, what's the thing?
It's just like Kyle Closer. Didn't want to go out with the team going 500, so he went to Florida. And
the thing about the NBA today is that there's so much talent going around. There's I feel like almost every team, not every team, but there's if you leave your team, you're going to get accused of either ring chasing or building a super team. There's so much talent, even Bradley Beal joining the Suns. People consider that a super team, and don't get me wrong, I love Bradley Beal. He was a scoring champ a few years back, but he's not super team material. There's just so much talent going around that people are just gonna say oh, you're ring chaser, oh, you're building a super team. But even the Suns, they're a 6th seed right now. They're just average. Well, they're good, but
yeah, I have no problem personally with people wanting to go ring chase or build a super team. I mean, I personally don't have an issue with it.
You have one chance to build a legacy. You got to do it.
Right. Who cares what people think or say? Do you want to go win a ring? I mean, your career's not going to last forever,
Yeah.
Right. Look at Brady. He took pay cuts for years because he wanted to build a legacy. Obviously, he still made $300 million in his career or whatever.
Could have had $500 million.
Right. He could have been upwards of $400 or $500 million, but he chose not to. Brought guys in Gronk. Randy Moss, all these other guys, and he kept them around to ring chase, and look at him now. He's the greatest of all time. He's made $300 million in his career, and he'll probably always be around now because he's just known as the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
Speaking of Brady, is he coming back?
No.
I don't know.
Dude, he said he might.
No.
It would be.
Well, is he even allowed to? He's a co-owner of the Raiders.
He said that if they let him,
but he'd probably
needed a quarterback.
He'd probably have to come back to play for the Raiders. I don't think
he did. That was one of the teams
that
he mentioned he would come back and play for. Would be the Raiders.
I think he would have.
Well, Jordan did.
You can't
throwing the ball to Devontae Adams.
You can't own a team and go play for another team.
No, I don't know. It would be cool to see him come back, but at the same time, it's he's got nothing else to prove, and if he comes back and doesn't look good, then obviously it's gonna leave a poor taste in everyone's mouths, just because a lot of their last memories, obviously he built a dynasty for 20 years. But
their last memory, he didn't do anything his last year.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. That's why
that's their last memory. Yeah. He'd come back. What if he comes back and wins a Super Bowl with the Raiders? Then what?
Yeah, but what if he comes back and does?
Highly unlikely.
He
but
wins
it would be cool.
5 games. Then we're why'd he even come back?
Well, he would only come back if the Raiders, didn't have a quarterback late in the season and were pushing for the playoffs.
I mean, they don't have a quarterback now as it is, so they very well could be that they could join. Could do it anymore. Jimmy Garoppolo. Cool.
It being April 18th, what are you doing the next 2 days? You going to a certain stadium?
I am, man.
Yeah, what are you doing there?
Concert, Luke Combs.
Anyone tell you ever look like him?
No.
I think Hardy.
Yeah, you think Hardy?
I think you look a little.
Yeah, I don't. But I think Luke Combs.
I've never gotten Luke Combs. I've gotten Hardy all the time, of course.
You only say that because you were Hardy for Halloween. But I think you should have been Luke Combs.
I think I should have been Luke Combs too, but you got to talk to somebody else on that.
Was there a reason why you weren't?
Yeah, we can talk to someone else on that. We can take that one off air.
I'm actually kind of jealous. I love Luke Combs so much. That concert.
You're not going?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Because the only ticket I was offered was one singular ticket sitting by myself. And don't get me wrong. Actually,
we just would have sat with us.
Luke Combs is an artist that I would just go by myself.
We know people selling tickets in the pit for Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm already
either that or was it one singular ticket for Friday or Saturday?
I honestly, I think it was.
If it was for Friday, we could sneak in where we're sitting.
Yeah, but
just stand in front of us or something.
Yeah, he's small enough. He can stand on the bleachers.
Okay, you don't have to make fun of his height.
Sorry.
It's okay. He's not allowed to have.
That was fucked.
It's not his fault. He's not allowed to have gluten.
Someone else.
Yeah, someone else in this group is recently like that too.
Dude, it's not. I have diabetes. It's not me. Dude, the health issues. The health issues in this group is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys got?
No, I'm good. What?
Dude, he was playing Webkins mid podcast.
You saw
So
me
I saw that. I was starting to smirk, so I had to take a drink of water. I'm like, there's no way that he's trying to recreate the chess moment, which will never be created, and he pulls up Webkins of all things. He could have pulled up 20 different things, and or not even 20, 100 different things, and he chooses Webkins.
Don't act like you didn't have a Webkins when you were a kid.
Oh, I did have a Webkins when I was a kid, but I'm not 20. I'm not 20 years old sitting here playing Webkins in the middle of the
Nice
podcast.
try. I'm 22.
I know. I was gonna say 24, and I'm like, well, that's my age, not your age.
You're 24?
So, yeah.
You look good for your age.
I would have thought you were like 21.
Like a younger husband.
Jesus Christ.
All right.
All right, closing out.
All right. That's all we got. Thank you guys for
for
watching.
everything.
I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.
Maddie.